Hello, everybody. Today is May 10th, and we're doing business and social stories to share with your friends.
A bit of a truncated collapse section, but it seems like all the news.
Just a little truncated. Everyone's enjoying the nice spring weather.
That's got to be it, right?
Yeah.
Not anything darker than that. But
not a deep breath before the plunge.
This is a lull in the collapse, but not a halt.
Shopify lays off 20% of its employees as it embraces more cost cutting. It turns out Shopify is just plumbing infrastructure. People don't really want to do a lot more than just use it as a platform for e-commerce. It doesn't really take a lot of people to run.
Now, they had expanded a little bit. They had this Flexport, which was a logistics business, and they are cutting that entirely. We don't need that anymore. Remember when we had the trucking crisis? We got too many now, I guess. Because nobody's buying anything from Amazon anymore. And in the gaming world, this could be bad.
Unity lays off 600 staff members and prepares to close half of its offices.
Ooh.
Now, the half its office closing part is not really a big deal because people are still going to work from home. And this is only, what was it, like 6 or 8% of the workforce? So this isn't, like 600 staff is half of their workforce. No, nobody wants to go to the office anymore, as it turns out.
It's probably, it's all QC. It's about to get way worse.
And we lost BuzzFeed. Oh, what a tragic loss, huh?
But BuzzFeed News, I mean, still have to check it, but like BuzzFeed News wasn't always terrible.
You know, even a broken clock is right twice a day. You know,
we used to source from them pretty frequently.
Every now and then somebody hires Kyle Wiggers.
We sourced them because they didn't have a paywall, which might be why they're going out of business.
Yeah.
And we do use a Vice. Vice, though, drives me crazy because they're way too verbose with everything.
Yeah.
Like they think they're going to write a magnum opus about like some new random robot or whatever. But they're going, actually, update to this story. Well, I'll have to give it after you do it.
Vice is said to be headed for bankruptcy. The company, which is once valued at $5.7 billion, has been struggling to find a buyer this year. I had no idea that Vice was ever worth $5.7 billion. We perhaps undervalue ourselves. Good Lord.
Well,
we're not in the news business, though.
They have found their buyer. It is Fortress Capital and George Soros.
That can't possibly be a bad thing.
We'll be picking that up.
All you have to do to squeeze us is cancel our Linode sponsorship. Linode.com/level1 text. Get your $100 coupon. Woo!
You know what's crazy about Vice? Started out as a newsletter in Canada. Created by, or co-founded by, one of the creators, Gavin McGinnis, founder of the Proud Boys.
Oh.
And now, after all the bureaucracy, it is now in the hands of George Soros. What a wild ride, huh?
I feel like there's a lot of dots there that could be connected. Like a lot of dots. Lot of dots.
I mean, he's no longer involved in any way. He's his no, I mean, they would not have him.
Like obviously. Rupert Murdoch also?
Well, I don't think he has that kind of power. Wow, that would be crazy if he was secretly controlling the opposition. Just to have something to rail against. And here is one that we've seen some companies weather these storms way better than others, but even they must suffer.
AMD posts its first loss in years as consumer chip sales plummet by 65%. Not entirely unexpected, given that making one processor is, you know, over a month-long operation, almost 3 months.
But CPUs were their loss, or at least like customer CPUs, end user CPUs rather than the server stuff. But the gaming hardware stayed strong. So they didn't do too terribly, but the CPU chips in particular were a tragedy.
Yeah. Computex is also coming up, which is, you know, a fun time to launch things. It's going to be interesting to see how conservative companies are. Usually you get pre-briefs for things that are, hey, we're going to do this stuff at Computex. And this year, it's been a little quiet.
Have you started developing an itinerary of cool touristy things you're going to do?
Yeah.
Can you preview any of that for us?
No. Well, okay, the stuff that is just like elective fun stuff to do has to fit in between all of the invitations to do things, and I've only gotten the invitations to do things so far. I'm definitely going to go get tea. I'm completely out of tea. So
I saw you had like a unsweetened tea a second ago. I don't know where it went, but and I was like, oh, he'll be able to get fresh tea.
You know I'm having a bad day when I'm drinking Gold Peak.
Grim.
The peak of flavor.
Literally didn't have time to make tea, and
Wouldn't you be able to just mail home like a bundle of tea?
I did, but I didn't know I wasn't going to be there for 3 years.
Now you do.
No, yeah. You should plan for that and get locked.
This visit, you prepare, like you didn't prepare for a pandemic. This visit, you prepare for Chinese war. That's the lesson.
It's grim.
And Stellantis is one of these conglomerates that owns a bunch of car companies, and they announced how they were going to get big into electric vehicles, and that seems to be their excuse for the layoff that's not a layoff.
Stellantis is to offer buyouts amid electric vehicle transition. Buyouts of what? Their staff. They really want to get rid of some people. But notice, because this is a workforce that has unionized, they can't just summarily dispose of their workforce. They have to commit to their agreements for things. They can't just post record profits and fire everybody the way that everybody else has. They can post record profits and then offer to buy them out. So they did post record profits.
There are going to be some salty old engineers who are like, I ain't about this EV stuff. I do ICE engines. And they're like, yeah, well, you're going to retire early. And they probably will.
But they also do want to downsize. So this is, even if they could get rid of the old engineers and bring in new engineers, it's not going to be anywhere near a 1-to-1 replacement.
Oh, no, they're not doing hiring.
It's only going to be 30-to-1, probably.
And we all have probably seen this one at this point, but it's important to point out in the collapse that the transfer of wealth. In this case, just like in previous crises, we separated out the good from the bad, and we gave the bad to the taxpayer, and we gave the good to the giant banking corporations. It just doesn't seem like a good idea.
Yeah. Regulators seized First Republic Bank and sell assets to JPMorgan. Now, by all accounts, people liked First Republic Bank. It did nice things for them. Nobody has ever said anything nice about JPMorgan banks, except for people that have
been paid to do so.
Scandalous amounts of money there.
It may have done some good things for its depositors. It did do the one bad thing, which was it took all their money and put it in risky bond markets. But JP Morgan has certainly done worse.
Yeah.
And will, and is probably right now.
The FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, is going to be on the hook for about $18 billion. Now, the government was quick to say, we're not passing that on to taxpayers. But let me just translate that for you. The federal government is not passing that on to taxpayers. The FDIC insurance rates are probably going up, which will probably be passed on to people in the bank in the form of higher fees.
Or lower interest.
Yeah.
And Apple finally reported their earnings. I think this happened today, right? Or no, I guess it was yesterday. It was late yesterday. After hours. But they didn't have to do it after hours because it wasn't that bad.
Apple reports better than expected quarter driven by iPhone sales. Now, to be sure, things are down, but Wall Street expected a bloodbath. It was less of a bloodbath than expected, and so that's taken as good news, and the Dow rallies.
Yes, at the top, it's like breaking. Things are doing okay.
Just because Apple.
Even though 2 more banks almost failed this week.
Yeah, I'm not feeling real positive about that.
This is bad, though, because I've noticed that as Congress critters sort of notice that certain companies drive the strength or weakness of the U.S. economy, it's like, oh, Apple good. We must not do anything to hurt or interfere with Apple because Apple good. But Apple's behaving kind of sociopathically when it comes to their app store and some other aspects of their business. Probably really could use some regulation.
But they're big business, so line go up.
Yeah.
There's a crazy statistic where if you cut a certain number of stocks off the top, the highest stocks, I can't remember how many it is. It's not that many. Then you would lose all profit in the stock market for the year. Like it's all in a certain small number of companies, which kind of...
That goes with the whole wealth centralization thing, doesn't it?
But it also muddies the water in terms of like, no, the markets are healthy.
Yeah.
It's healthy for the ones at the top who own the monopoly.
The markets are healthy. It's really scary.
I think the markets might be, like deceased at this point, but still on the machine that's keeping them running. And that machine is called Apple, Tesla, Facebook.
You can hear the clicking whirring sound in the background. That's the sound of the respirator.
Oh.
And here's a crazy one because CNBC, the headline sounds like, pro-union type of stuff. But then when you read into it, Amazon says that they have fired this company.
Yeah.
But the company insists that they have not been fired.
That seems weird.
Like, whoa, there's so much disinformation. Who do we trust here?
Amazon delivery drivers in Southern California joined the Teamsters union. But then Amazon said they were fired before they could join the Teamsters union. Ergo, this is a superposition of both in and not in the union that Amazon cares about.
Well, Amazon said they fired them for poor performance. The company
Definitely not because they joined a union right after.
Well,
right?
the company says they haven't been fired. So I don't know who to believe.
Either way, I think it looks bad for Amazon to, maybe have fired them or talked about firing them.
This is battle-tested logistics. And yeah, Jonathan Irvin disputed Amazon's statement and said the company has a current contract with Amazon. Amazon says no.
Our lawyers are looking over that quickly now.
And Microsoft still fighting that antitrust. They took a terrible blow with their Activision loss. And this one seems like just a sneaky way to charge us subscriptions, right?
Yes.
That's like saying, oh, we don't want to do this, but all those antitrust people crying out, we don't have a choice.
Microsoft offers to charge for Teams to address EU antitrust concerns. It's actually 2 versions of Teams. The Business Office 365 version, which you do pay for in your subscription, and then the free version. So they're going to charge for the free version.
And once again, the Windows teams and the Office teams are apparently not getting, I think the memos about the antitrust are going to their junk folder because of Outlook's settings. And they need to look at their junk folder once in a while.
It's in the unfocused tab.
Because they need to look at these memos because what they're doing feels so antitrusty.
Microsoft is forcing Outlook and Teams to open links in Edge, and IT admins are angry. Listen, I've used group policy to set internet links to open in this thing that's not Edge. Why are you opening it in Edge?
Because they have to open it in their new side-by-side mode. Oh, so convenient. And also conveniently never opens on anything but Microsoft. Because
I will never use Edge. Stop trying to make it happen.
Oh, they're going to make it happen.
Actually, Edge on Linux is surprisingly not unreasonable.
It doesn't mean that it should be forced on me.
Yeah, I'm using Firefox. Don't make me use Edge.
Make my own decision. And they, not only that, but once again, they just continue. You know what? Perhaps they're printing those emails and putting them in the bathroom at work so that they can wipe themselves with them. Because that's what they're doing.
Microsoft broke a Chrome feature to promote its Edge browser.
Excellent image.
Windows broke the feature that lets you change your default browser, and some users saw pop-ups every time they opened Chrome. It's the 1990s again for Microsoft, meaning that this is the stuff that led to an antitrust trial.
So, yeah, if you are a regular consumer of just basic Windows, clicking that button will now do nothing. But if you are on some sort of corporate policy, because of the security, it will actually pop up the pop-up every time you open Chrome.
Hey, why are you using Chrome? You should use Edge. Hey, what? Hey, don't click
Hey,
that.
listen.
Yeah, it is that. Except even more annoying. Just like the broken start menu, which they still haven't fixed, because that's where all the Bing analytics are coming from. Why are shareholders not looking into this? If you were a shareholder in Microsoft, this is basically fraud. Like, they're using it to make it seem like people are actually using their product when they're not. This is just annoying.
They actually tried, they had started a folder to talk about that, or a file, and then when they tried to search for it in the search bar, all they got was ads, and they were like, I don't...
Listen, if you're going to lie about this, just launch Edge in the background and have it listen to the URLs that are in Chrome and just go to the same URLs in Edge. So when I visit a website in Edge, immediately the website experiences the same traffic when I visit a website in Chrome, it experiences the same traffic in Edge. Visiting Chrome, Edge goes there in the background. Just mirror it in the background, and then tell your shareholders, look at this. People are using Edge like crazy. You're already lying to them. What's
one more lie?
Yeah.
A Microsoft executive with coffee all over his monitor right now, and he's scribbling furiously.
He was going to make the document, but he was like, I'll lose it. I'll just write it down.
Well, the Xbox team, certainly their plans have been uprooted, because they thought they were going to have a massive new game studio to roll in and roll off of that momentum. But no, they're not. So what are they going to do? Well, maybe they should just roll up their sleeves and say, let's just make better games. Let's focus on the end user. Let's do what we've failed to do all this time. That is the opposite of what they seem to be doing.
Just make great games. Won't change the Xbox console, says Spencer. So he's saying that even if we made amazing games, people aren't going to play them on the Xbox console. We have to do more than just make great games.
But that's not the exact quote. The exact quote is very telling, because he said, even if these amazing games that are exclusive to our thing, no one's going to go out and sell their PlayStation. So in his mind, it's zero sum.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to have two consoles. They're going to choose one or the other, and they're going to sell one to get the other. And that's the only way he sees that happening.
I mean, I guess most people only have one.
They're expensive.
Yeah, but I don't know. I know a few people who have more than one.
Microsoft had that same thought about Linux in the early days with Balmer, and now they've got the Windows subsystem for Linux where they're like, we'll let Linux exist as long as we're the primary operating system. And it's like, I guess that's progress, maybe, possibly.
Yeah, I don't. But see, the other console companies aren't doing much better. So they all have that walled garden mentality, the exclusivity mentality. And there's Gaben just counting his coins. He's like, oh, well, you got some sort of like World War II themed anime girl dating sim? Put it on there.
More skins in CSGO?
Just whatever you want.
Listen, the Gabe needs more money for the next version of the Steam Deck. The Gabe shall have more money.
And the check mark to establish who you are, whether you're trustworthy. Twitter has kind of fumbled theirs. It doesn't mean anything anymore. And other companies seem to be wanting to do something similar.
Gmail is adding a blue check mark to better verify senders. That's going to make sure that the domain name on your email matches the domain name that you purport to be from using DMARC and other email encryption, verification, DNS, strong verification stuff. This is great, except that it's also possible to get domain names that use Unicode characters and that sort of thing, which would pass these kinds of tests. But it should make it a little easier to verify that that email really is from your bank, or really is from Google, or really is from your employer.
Much safer to just always doubt.
Yeah.
And fake stuff on the internet is what's causing that. There's a lot of fake stuff, and we need ways to defeat it. And that's what Mozilla is counting on. However, I don't think Mozilla, when they started this ball rolling, were ready for ChatGPT, because that's going to arm the fakers in a big way.
Mozilla buys Fakespot, a startup that identifies fake reviews to bring shopping tools to Firefox.
I've used Fakespot before.
I have too, and it's almost always an alarming percentage for Amazon. It's usually above 50.
I was looking at bed skirts on Amazon yesterday, and like, what was hilarious was all the results used the same photo. And I was like, this is just 20 Chinese companies all selling the same products. Like,
and when you get them, they're going to be like tiny.
Yeah. I ended up not
bed.
ordering one because I was like, well, I'm just going to try to find one in person.
What's mind-blowing is that Amazon didn't buy this company, because that would have been, if Amazon genuinely wanted to improve their stuff, this would have been better, because Amazon clearly doesn't even have the will to deal with this kind of thing on their platform.
It's really, like, they probably don't realize this, but it's making their service feel like it's just downhill.
I think they realize it very much.
You think?
I think they've done the numbers, and they make more money by allowing it than they do from stopping it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At least in the short term. And as we all know, it's all about the next quarter, right?
Right, yeah. They're not thinking about their brand name 5 years from now.
There's some variation, though, of the bad money squeezes out the good. The bad products squeeze out the good, too, because if you're a smaller seller and you're genuinely earnest about offering a good product, you will never touch Amazon with a 10-foot pole. See also the level 1 text KVMs, because it's like, hey, we should offer those on Amazon. And it's like, nope. It's a high dollar, low margin item. This is not anything that we should deal with on Amazon.
That's actually the opposite. You're talking about Gresham's Law?
Yeah.
Good money gets preference over bad money.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is, the bad actors are squeezing out the good ones because you don't get the money.
Because it's not a free market.
Right.
Well, Chegg, I enjoyed their name.
I'm going to Chegg all the knowledge.
It was a place where you could go and get help with your education. You could get some tutoring, and they had this nice system set up. And their investors are a little worried that their business model might have just been completely invalidated.
Edtech Chegg tumbles as ChatGPT threat prompts revenue warning. So Chegg has said, hey, people looking for us for tutorial stuff, it's probably not great. We could search and replace some stuff in the headline at a different point in time, and it would make more sense. It's like Britannica issues a warning as Wikipedia is becoming a thing.
Why is there a picture of Barbie in that article? Is this some sort of Barbie movie crossover?
It just says ChatGPT logo is seen in this illustration. I didn't even realize that was
That's a Barbie doll. Yeah. What does that have to do with anything?
It's meant to be an AI, or
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Maybe that's like your Barbie will be your tutor.
I mean, there was a teacher Barbie, I think.
Yeah, but now she can talk to you.
Oh.
And teach you how to, connect to an API.
As you do.
And Apple, we've seen several 0-day exploits. And of course, we know that most of the tech workers in Israel are actively trying to break into these devices 24/7. So this makes sense.
Apple releases its rapid fire security updates for iPhone, iPad, and Mac. The rollout hasn't been completely smooth, however.
It was fine. They screwed it up, but not as much as Microsoft has screwed up their updates in the recent past.
Although, if you go to certain web pages, it will crash your mobile browser after the security updates. So they really rushed things.
Now, here's a headline that you might think like, wow, Apple's really killing it. But you have to keep in mind here is that most bank deposits, those banks that are losing all their deposits are paying like 0.25%. Whereas money market and these kinds of accounts are paying like 4 or 5%. And with a touch of a button, you can switch. It's kind of a no-brainer.
People put nearly $1 billion into Apple savings account in the first 4 days. Apple savings account opened in mid-April with a 4.15% yield, and it's already drawn 240,000 new accounts among the first 2 billion iPhone users. Remember the 1980s when if you did, it was just your savings account. If you had more than $1,000, your rate in the bank was the same as the Fed. Those days are over.
They don't want your deposits, although they're starting to want them a little bit. But yeah, the problem is that we don't require the banks to keep any deposits anymore.
Yeah.
That reserve, if we set the reserve ratio, we should set the reserve ratio to 50%. Imagine what that would do.
Well, immediately it would crash everything.
Yeah.
Well, but we could build on that.
Taper off.
We've seen before reports that, and I don't know if they ever caught it in the wild, but they said, you know what? People could use Counter-Strike to communicate terrorist messages. But that goes in both directions.
Finnish newspaper hides Ukraine news reports for Russians in online games. Newspaper uses secret room in first-person shooter game Counter-Strike to bypass Russian censorship. This is incredible. This is absolutely amazing.
So there is a map that gets updated regularly with like the progress of the war, and those pictures and newspapers and everything are reporting that you would never see in Russia.
Wow.
This is a secret room. You could play the map and never know this existed. But once you get there, a real eye-opener.
Huh. Wonder what map it was.
It was a custom map. It wasn't one of them.
Okay.
Because like they have
default.
the default Valve maps.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can also make your own.
I think it was the Russian word for war, which is currently verboten in media even.
Oh. I was trying to think, it's been a while since I've played like Gmod, and I remember playing some of the default maps. I think Office had like a kind of secret room in it. I wondered if it was that, but
Should go check.
Uh-huh.
Also,
apparently not.
I'm guessing that's the old Counter-Strike, not the new one. I didn't see a distinction there. Well, Bitcoin is doing a little bit better, but not as well as we'd expect it to do considering the rate of inflation. That was supposed to be the big protector against inflation. And this man was very, very, very sure.
Balaji Srinivasan?
That's a pretty good guess.
Yeah.
Lost $1 million bizarre Bitcoin bet. He's a crypto investor and tech entrepreneur. He bet that Bitcoin would reach 1 million because of U.S. hyperinflation. Spoiler alert, it has not. So he paid $500,000 to charity and another $500,000 to a Bitcoin address somewhere. So he made good on his bet.
But the bet's it hasn't even expired yet, but he has so little confidence that it'll get there. He's paying early. Moving on with his life. Poor guy.
Probably doesn't
Tragic.
want the coin to fall even more so that he has to get rid of more coin in order to
Balance it out.
It's funny that the debt was settled in, the US dollar, as opposed to this is a 0.5 Bitcoin bet or a 10 Bitcoin bet or whatever.
Because it was based on the price.
Yeah. Well, it's based on the price today, not whenever he made the bet, which was much better.
That's kind of the Achilles heel to all the crypto bro arguments, right? Because ultimately, I need to convert this back.
Right.
I can't really do anything with it. Well, Chrome is, this is a weird argument because this is one of those arguments where it's like, people are too dumb to understand this, so we're going to change it. And it's like, well, can't we just educate them? And I guess the answer is no.
No.
This is a worse icon.
Chrome to drop lock icon showing HTTPS status replaced with a new tune symbol.
This implies settings to me that you should be able to
That's
click
what they
it.
want.
Yeah, Chrome already gives you like a red status bar if it's not HTTPS. So
Yeah, and every time I need to access my router, I have to deal with that stupid warning page. But yeah, so their thought was, if it's a green lock, that creates a false sense of security because most malware sites do have SSL. And this will make you think that it's not like, you don't look at that and think I'm safe. But you can click on it and still get the same information.
I don't know. It feels like there has to be a better solution, but maybe not.
Well, it seems that the people who have been so successful in Utah and other places are not done yet. They're coming for all of it.
Lobbyists from that thing of places pressure Reddit to shut down its not safe for work communities, which they've already been, slowly boiling that frog by making it harder and harder to get to them. You got to log in through the app and you can't see it if you're not logged in. Just crazy stuff like that. You can still go to old.reddit.com, but how much longer will you be able to do that?
Of course, they point out Tumblr,
Yeah.
which destroyed themselves
Yeah.
by trying this.
Well, the issue too is like it's all user generated content and it doesn't necessarily just go into the correct subreddit or tagged correctly.
And there's a bit of an Overton window for this kind of content as well. So it's like, okay, we did that. Now let's, keep shutting the window, keep moving the window into what pretty soon it's relatively innocent things.
I have to imagine that the overwhelming majority of that is OnlyFans girls trying to drum up business, right?
Yeah.
I would think, yeah.
Which is, an entrepreneurial use.
Yeah, I guess. Still getting it for free. That's what counts. And this is a little bit of good news. We rarely get these good news updates.
Film studios lose their bid to unmask Reddit users who wrote comments on piracy. Judge voids subpoena and says the film studios sought info that wasn't relevant to the case. Well, yeah, that it wasn't relevant to the case. That's their whole MO.
So the thing here was some people were posting on Reddit, hey, this is my ISP, and they don't actually enforce any of this. So switch to this ISP if you're in my area. And these people just went insane with that. They're like, no, we must stop it. It must be silenced. But it didn't really have anything to do with them. They think it does. Because they think everything is under their control.
They think that piracy is a capital offense. The pendulum must swing the other way. We have no choice.
But there's someone holding it. There's a lot of money piled up in front of it, and it can't seem to get back.
Just need to whack on it a few times to dislodge it.
They'll just burn the money.
And Coinbase is looking to expand, but because of the unsurety of the current situation here, they're having to expand to the Bahamas.
Coinbase launches international perps exchange starting with a 5x leverage. This is actually clever because it's a separate company. They're not going to move anything for you. They're just saying, hey, go over here and then...
Krista, explain to the people what a perp exchange is.
No idea.
Perpetual futures. So futures are designed so that if I say, hey, I make cornflakes.
Righto.
So I'm going to need corn in July. And I don't want to worry about shortages. I don't worry about corn prices. I want to buy my July corn now. This takes the July portion out of it. This is just getting on the casino and riding it. And it also, when things change in big ways, it pays out so that you're always close to the money. It's gambling. It's more convenient gambling. It runs 24/7.
Well, theoretically, you're supposed to take delivery of the goods, but before you take delivery, you just end up getting rid of them again.
There is no delivery for perpetual futures. That's the difference.
Yeah.
The contract never closes.
Isn't that one of the things that made them illegal here is because there wasn't a way to take delivery of the goods, and so you have to be able to take delivery of whatever? Because didn't they run that in the silver market or something?
We've got S&P 500 futures, though. It's cash settled. Because S&P 500 isn't a thing. So we kind of have this. We just don't have it where it's constantly rolling and never expires.
Fun times.
And Tencent is getting on the new AI hype train, but in a way that's a little alarming.
Tencent Cloud announces Deepfakes as a service for $145. 3 minutes of video and 100 sentences of speech in 24 hours to get you a bot to front your live streams and answer questions. Neat.
So very little, you just give them a little bit. Man, we could easily make bots of ourselves. We got so much.
No, don't even put that thought into the universe, because I'm sure someone's already working on it.
And they point out a variety of ways that you could use this. Mostly they're thinking about, like, you know, this being your online avatar that people can interact with.
It's the metaverse.
Rather than you. Terrifying.
You know, in the not too distant future, if you record every interaction that you have with a piece of technology, what's displayed on screen and then the thing that you display, that could turn into a very large, well-labeled data set that's trained an AI to mimic your actions. So then, you know, it doesn't matter if the AI has your internal monologue or not, if it responds exactly the same way that you would given a set of input.
So what if Windows 13, maybe we skip 13 because that's unlucky. What if Windows 14 is like, hey, this is a free license. We're going to be capturing some data, and the data they're capturing is yours.
It's directly from your brainstem.
And then they try to sell that back to you. It's like, well, you can buy the rights to your personhood, your digital personhood, because we own it and we're using it.
That's the Fortune 1 company in 2100 is your loved ones come back to life for a fee, and it's just a simulation.
I've already seen tech bros throwing that out as like, preserve your consciousness now. And it's like, no, let me die.
Man, I don't remember Mom talking this much about Doritos when she was alive.
Should you start throwing off the AIs now, like by occasionally just doing weird movements and stuff, so like it messes with the data set?
Well, and you would also want 35-year-old mom and not 85-year-old mom because she's a lot more crotchety.
That depends on the mom. Well, we have the big technological divide. Of course, we're seeing this in cable television. Those people are mostly dead or dying at this point. But now we have a new divide that is coming between streaming and ignoring it completely for social media.
48% of people under 42 spend more time socializing online than off. Deloitte has found that today's entertainment trends are driven by younger generations and the content they create, and that could have big implications for everyone. I don't think it's a surprise to anybody in this audience. How much more fun is it to just, you know, play a few games with your friends and capture some memes on the Discord?
Or instead of watching police dramas, watch Freedom of Information videos about actual police. So much better. And Facebook, their big thing, keeping them afloat, the life support systems is keeping that whole corpse running, is the ad system. But they seem to be messing with it.
Facebook's ad system went nuts and ripped off customers. Basically what happened is a bunch of ad agencies said, wait a minute, all our money's gone. What did you do? And the results from those ads weren't very good because they have the analytics. So Meta has agreed to refund all of that, roll it back, but they're not really talking about what went wrong other than a developer made a mistake.
Also, the limits were ignored.
Yeah.
So they're like, hey, we only want to spend this much this month. The ad system was like, I don't care. I'm selling as many as I can.
Do we know anybody who got hit by this?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I hadn't heard about that.
They got a refund. I mean, it was just annoying.
Well, yeah, but yeah, interesting.
And you have to be very careful on Facebook on how you interact with people, because we've entered into a world where mental health is a huge crisis.
Man charged with murder after victim allegedly laugh reacted to Facebook photo.
I didn't quite understand that they have example text messages in here, but they're so like newspeak to me.
Yeah, I don't.
He posted a picture of him with his girlfriend, and the guy posted the laugh, and this guy just lost his mind. He's like, why would you post a laugh at that? And it seemed like the guy was just like, well, I know her and we're friends, and so I just laugh reacted. Like
so the laugh reaction kind of has like especially when it's something like your profile picture, it's someone like making fun of you. It's a mean laugh. And you can try to like put it another way, but probably that was a...
What if that guy was like me and just didn't know Facebook etiquette?
I mean, considering I think these people were like 18, 19, 20. Well, seems unlikely.
They agreed to meet up and fight.
As you do when you're 18, 19, 20.
And that guy brought a gun. Wow. Cowardly.
That's the, Buford Tannen shot Doc Emmett over a matter of $80, the 2023 version of that.
A laugh react.
What are you in for, bro? killed a dude over Facebook.
He laugh reacted my profile pic. I showed
He
him.
used the wrong emoji.
Yeah.
Then what do you do if that guy laughs in your face?
Ooh.
Fun times. All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye.